might have never reckoned one another as lovers twinning in their zeal for humanism, nevertheless, as ardent seekers of truth cloistered in the ireful labyrinth of time. On one hand, we are presented with the apothecary of national conscience, the Mahatma, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who being a lawyer by vocation remained a devout political ethicist, displaying an anti-colonialist bearing, one who seamlessly nurtured the path of non-violent resistance which found its ultimate main in India's independence from the British Raj, a gentle victory which in turn progressively inspired several noteworthy endemic movements for civil rights and freedom across the world. On the other hand, we are stridently greeted by Heinrich Boll's chronicles of exemplary resilience in the face of Nazi turmoil and repression, whereupon one avails the rare opportunity to get acquainted with the sinewy grit of one of Germany's foremost post-World War II writers who deemed it unfit to buckle under the sardonic autocratic lath of iron, muscle, power and fury. Thereof, he is aptly awarded with the George Büchner Prize in 1967 and the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1972, amongst an entourage of other enterprising accolades. To superficially yoke two stoic figures with a casual list on peripheral factoids or to dole a note of modest equivocation would indeed do apart what Dr. N.T. Bhat has cogently put together, which is to indicate just how intricately two very seemingly separate lives are shown to sensitively respond to the dunes of social pressure, political contention, and existential strife, given the voluntary mission that each took upon oneself towards crafting a new morality that must, in the spirit of true religiosity, be inclusive of the nameless multitudes. Both Gandhi and Boll were writers. One stood for the ethic of non-fiction, which is plainly written in the rhetoric of ordinary people. The other took to the emotive stance of fiction, creatively trying to etch one's stance on non-violence and other given prerogatives. Both were iconoclastic non-conformists. One was a Hindu who stood against the idea of being exclusivist, and the other was a Christian who, being very devout, stood against the whole grid of Christianity which came to tie up with the ethic of the Nazi rule. So going by that, we would see that both were radical nomads who invested in construing the idea of the nation, each in one's own stead. Also, when one were to compare Boll with Gandhi, one notices that both strove for a hierarchical setup, trying to make amends in their own contemporary worlds. In this line of thinking, one sees a rich semantic nexus of meanings that surrounds important concepts that are juicily raked up in the book. For instance, truth is not an abstraction. In fact, there is no personal truth or private truth. There is only public truth. And again, one can see there is no the truth. There is only a truth. Truth is not something one can own. Truth is only that which you pursue. Truth is the unity of thought, speech, and action to be practiced in daily life. Once again, conscience isn't the consequence of law or a dry moral prerogative. It is the truce of public service where the collective is embraced as family. Similarly, religion isn't a sordid extension of a church, temple, or mosque. Rather, it is a quality of moral righteousness, a path of solidarity to be achieved by one and all. Ahimsa, again, is not merely non-violence. It is rather abstinence from the very thought of divisiveness which splits the world. Again, Swaraj is not merely self-rule, but the mastery of each individual over himself or herself. Satyagraha is not a sundry revolt or protest or stridulent action. Rather, it is a way of life where truth is revered as God rather than God as truth. With these few observations, I seek to conclude, thanking all my teachers.